Roses are red, violets are blue, Gotham subscribers are tricky, and so are you. Recently, Gotham Chess published a video called The Best Beginner's Chess Opening, and sure enough, a lot of folks will try that trick against you soon, but I have prepared a counter trick for you that you're gonna pull off one move earlier. They're gonna use this trick as white playing against you. So after pawn e4, pawn e5, now 3 knights to c6, so far so good. White goes pawn to c3, the Ponziani opening, which is something fairly unknown for most chess players. And at this position, the main move for black is knight to f6. I mean, normally black shouldn't go bishop to c5 because white can strike in this area with the move pawn to d4 and challenge you right away. So knight f6 is the right way to go. After that, white goes pawn to d4. So far, it's still the main line. Black captures the pawn over here on e4, and white pushes the pawn forward d5, chasing away this knight. So that's the first kind of unpleasant surprise for black. Perhaps black was hoping for white to capture here, but instead now you have to worry about your knight. And as the knight moves back, white captures over here on e5, and at this point, since you gotta somehow untangle your pieces over here, it's natural for black to wish to play pawn to d6. Opening up for this bishop, attacking this knight, looks good for black, but in fact, it's a fatal mistake. And here they're going to play bishop b5, attacking your king, and all of a sudden it turns out that in order to cover your king, you have to give up a lot of material, and white wins. So that is the trick that they're going to pull off against you, but let's take it a little bit back. So in this position, right after they push the pawn to d5, expecting your knight to go back, you instead play bishop c5, boldly allowing them to grab your knight, because instead you're going to grab their king. You're going to go bishop takes f2 and go after their king. Now, this is an extremely unpleasant change of the situation for white. Now, instead of being an attacker, they have to defend passively and being in that dangerous spot for many moves ahead. First of all, let me also mention that there is no other way for white but to bite the bullet and to grab the knight over here. Because if they try to play bishop e3, covering that weak pawn on f2 so that you do not grab it, it's really bad for white, because after this exchange, it disrupts their pawn structure, and after pawn takes, now they've got these weak pawns, their king is exposed, and now you can drop your knight back, no problem for you, and white is left with all those weaknesses, which is a permanent problem for white. For example, if they capture over here, you can simply castle now, and here there is one more very popular error for white. White goes bishop d3, thinking that they're developing a bishop with a tempo, but here you come up with another unpleasant surprise for white by playing knight takes d5, seemingly sacrificing this knight on e4, but it's not the case, because after bishop takes e4, you just play queen to h4, countering white, and now thanks to this double attack, white has to cover their king, queen takes e4, and look at this, black is currently a pawn up already, plus you're attacking this rook, you're attacking this knight, you're attacking this pawn on e3, you can capture it with a knight, and then jump over there to c2 and grab the rook. I mean, you attack all around and you're just totally crushing it. Alrighty, let's keep roasting Gotham subscribers. Nothing personal, just business. Since we know that white cannot play bishop e3, or rather they can, but they end up in a losing position anyway, so white should actually capture this knight on c6, allowing you to go for this attack against their king. Now they have to play this awkward move king to e2, which blocks their development and also puts this king on an extremely vulnerable place. At this point, you want to drop your bishop back, because right now these two pieces are a little bit shaky. You know, white can try attacking them and capturing them, so just move your bishop back. The bishop did its job, now white's king is exposed, it can't cancel, it's in the middle of the board. Moreover, as you move your bishop back, in some positions you'll be able to jump with your knight over there, forking the queen as well as the rook in the corner, and that's one of the major threats, actually. Okay, what is white going to do here? Well, generally speaking, I'm going to show you a couple of variations, but even if you can't memorize them, that's not a problem at all, because basically you simply want to develop, okay, and attack this king. Perhaps, if possible, you want to execute that knight fork after knight to f2. So your moves are pretty simple. It is white's task now to think hard and to find a way to defend their king somehow. So even if you can remember all those variations, no problem. And white has a lot of issues here. For example, if they play natural moves, now this pawn is hanging, so they may wish to take it over here, bishop takes, and let's say they think, okay, let me grab that knight and attack the bishop. That is actually another losing error, because now all of a sudden there is bishop b5, check to the king, this way. And for example, if white king moves back, there's a very nice bishop to f2 checkmate, all of a sudden. And you win white just in 10 moves, after white playing similarly natural looking moves. Going back a few moves, actually the best position according to the computer for white over here is to counterattack with the move queen to d5. which attacks this knight, attacks this pawn, and possibly threatens pawn takes b7. But we are not going to worry about that. We're going to play knight to f2. We were planning to make that move anyway, attacking this rook in the corner of the board. And here there is one more catch for white. If they want to play queen takes e5, that looks extremely advantageous for white at first, grabbing a pawn, checking your king. But in reality, after king to f8, your king is completely safe right here. But this opened up this e-file where white's king is standing, and actually that backfires, and very often white may end up in big trouble. For example, if they want to save their rook, they may wish to play rook to g1, and for example, one game black captured pawn takes c6, white played pawn h3, I guess preventing black from jumping with their knight to g4, but that suddenly ended with queen to d1 checkmate. And it's worth mentioning that white player in this case was rated 2400, so you can see that even for a strong player, it's really not easy to figure out the right way to defend here for white, because their king is just extremely overexposed. Actually, there is something pretty weird with this move bishop to c5. This is the strongest move according to Stockfish. Stockfish recommends this move instead of knight to e7, saying that black is better after playing bishop c5, but for some unknown reason, even grandmasters often don't play it. I don't really know why. It's not that it is something completely unknown for chess. It's called Vukovic Gambit. It is a, should be a known thing, but for some reason, even strong players often don't play it. Anyway, I certainly would recommend that you do. Why to avoid playing the best move, which also puts white in such a dangerous position. After bishop takes f2, king e2, bishop b6. I think that especially in blitz, it is extremely difficult for white to defend here. It is nearly resignable, actually for white here, just because attacking is generally speaking a lot easier than defending. Anyway, the best move is queen to d5, trying to counterattack, and after knight to f2, what Stockfish recommends white to do is to capture over here on b7, so that both players try to gobble up as much material as they can. Now you take this pawn on b7, queen takes, you then grab this rook in the corner of the board, knight takes h1, and as we evaluate this position, you can see that you've got a rook and two pawns against two minor pieces of white. So generally the material balance is okay, but again, white's major problem remains to be the same. They're centralized and exposed king. In most cases, they can't find right follow-up anyway, and they play bishop to e3. Their intent is trying to grab this knight in the corner of the board to catch you, so that they play bishop e3 to avoid you playing knight f2 and bringing this knight back to play. But there is once again the same downside. Now, after this trade of bishops, the king is even more exposed. So you simply castle, white goes knight d2, you play pawn to d5, you want to push forward here and attack the king, open the position, and after they play bishop a6, and they're ready to enjoy this free knight on h1, which can't run away, seemingly, you're ready to break through in the center by playing pawn to e4, and white is again losing the game anyway, because, if they allow the trade of knights, if they capture your knight, you capture their knight, now the king is totally exposed, and you're winning there. If they instead try moving the knight to d4, that's even worse. Queen to g5, check to the king. Our knight takes away this square, so the king has to go in the middle of the board. Now queen takes g2, and if the king goes back, you can go e3, you can go rook b8, attack the queen, attack this pawn on b2. This is completely overwhelming. And if the king goes forward, that is just the scholar's checkmate with queen to f2. Another opening trick lots of folks will try against you is known as the fried liver attack, and if you want to know how to counter that, you may check out this video where I'm covering just that. Wishing you all the best, take care, go crush them all, and I'll talk to you later.